Now, meanwhile, speaking of people who get away with pretty much anything, including claims of victimhood that seem wildly disproportionate to their actual victimhood status, Meghan Markle, who's the least victimized person in human history. Literally, I cannot think of a person less victimized than Meghan Markle. She's literally a princess. She went from being a B-rate actress on Suits to being an actual honest-to-God princess. And then she is so ungrateful that she ripped on the royal family and talked about how difficult her life was before decamping to California, where she bought a multi-million-dollar mansion and got a sweet, sweet podcast deal to produce a not very good podcast. Well, now she's saying that her life has been so difficult. You know what's one of the things that made her life really, really difficult, Meghan Markle, is that she was a model on Deal or No Deal. She didn't really have a speaking role. She's one of the suitcase ladies on Deal or No Deal. Now, that basic job requirement is that you be good looking. Not to put too fine a point on it, but they don't have 300-pound obese men as the people holding the suitcases on Deal or No Deal. You have to be like a nice looking person that's nice to look at. But Meghan Markle says that she was objectified on Deal or No Deal. No, you mean wait, you mean models and what? You mean you only got the job because you're good looking and then people noticed you're good looking? No, victimhood status. Here's Meghan Markle talking about how victimized she has been in her unbelievably rich and privileged life.
I was thankful for the job, but not for how it made me feel, which was not smart. And by the way, I was surrounded by smart women on that stage with me, but that wasn't the focus of why we were there. And I would end up leaving with this pit in my stomach, knowing that I was so much more than what was being objectified on the stage. I didn't like feeling forced to be all looks and little substance.
Forced? I have a question. Force implies force. That's what that word means. Was somebody chaining her to the set and they're like, you need to be good looking and stand there for money. She's like, no, I will not do that. I'm much more than that. I am my brain. Probably if you're a 300-pound obese man, she'd be a princess right now. Also, I'm sorry to break it to people, but being a beautiful person comes with privilege. You want to talk about unearned privilege in life? How about being extraordinarily good looking like Zoolander? If you're an extraordinarily good looking person, if you are one of those people, that is an unearned privilege. And you were born good looking. And now everybody pays attention to you and pretends that what you have to say is incredibly smart. So Meghan Markle, super duper victimized by her good looks. You know how hard it is she's just Derek Zoolander. Why are we pretending that this lady is anything but Derek Zoolander, who ended up in the royal family? Like, she's woke Zoolander at this point. It's amazing stuff there from Meghan Markle. Well, folks, you know, people are worried about John Fetterman's health. I'm not worried anymore. I'm not worried because his doctor put out a letter. So I've been told, by the way, that in the past, when a doctor doesn't put out a medical report, they just put out a letter, that's totally insufficient. Remember, Donald Trump's doctor put out a letter that seemed to be written by Donald Trump like, he's the healthiest person who has ever lived or will ever live. He will live literally forever because he is made of McDonald's fat. He will never, ever die. He's made of Diet Coke and McDonald's. That's all. His body is 97% preservative. And everybody was like, that letter's bad and not indicative of his health. Well, Donald Trump is still in pretty good health. John Fetterman has some pretty significant health problems, but his doctor did put out a letter, and the media, that's good enough for them, man. John Fetterman's favorite doctor put out a letter. He was a donor to John Fetterman before he had a stroke, by the way. According to that letter, quote, overall, the lieutenant governor is recovering well from his stroke, and his health has continued to improve. Well, that's not like a clean bill of health. He spoke intelligently without cognitive deficits. Have you seen some tape of him? Like, how long did you talk with him? His speech was normal. He continued to exhibit symptoms of an auditory processing disorder, which can come across as hearing difficulty. Occasional words he will miss, which seems like he doesn't hear the word, but is actually not processed properly, which seems like a contradiction that his speech was normal, actually, and is speaking intelligently without cognitive deficits. His hearing of sound, such as music, is not affected. His communication is significantly improved compared to his first visit. So that's good. Overall, says the doctor, Lieutenant Governor Fetterman is well and shows strong commitment to maintaining good fitness and health practices. He has no work restrictions and can work full duty in public office. Well, that last one seems like more of a political opinion than it does like a medical opinion. But sure, the entire media now, well, that means he's fine. He's fine now, John Fetterman. We will find out in his debate next week. The Oz campaign was like, okay, well, if he's fine and he's putting out letters that he's fine, he doesn't need any special help, does he, during the next debate? Is he really going to need that closed captioning? He has like a special program that he's going to have in the debate that allows a readout of what is being said to him. Well, the Democrats are obviously running into some pretty significant headwinds in this election cycle, mainly because of their own bad governance. According to 538, the Democratic chances of winning the Senate are now down to 61%. So they're dropping like a stone because just yesterday they were at 64%. They continue to decline rather markedly. So who are Democrats unleashing? Well, they can't unleash Joe Biden. Joe Biden is completely absent. He is AWOL. He is not doing any major rallies because, again, Joe Biden is no longer a sentient human. And so they're not bothering to put him out on the road. Plus, nobody wants him out on the road. He's got a 39% approval rating. According to the New York Times, with crucial elections looming, Biden breaks tradition of big campaign rallies. Quote, there's nothing quite like having a president at a big, boisterous campaign rally. Democrats in 4 cities, Atlanta, Detroit, Milwaukee, and Las Vegas, will get that chance this month in the final days of voting that will decide who controls Congress and governor's offices and state houses. But it won't be Biden. It'll be Barack Obama. Shocker. Because Joe Biden is terrible at this job. Now, Barack Obama ain't going to help either. He has no transferable popularity. We learned this when he was actually president and then proceeded to get blown out in the House in 2010 as the Republicans picked up 63 seats. So Barack Obama's personal magnetism has no effect on voting turnout patterns for anyone other than Barack Obama. But Joe Biden, of course, is completely gone. He's out in the crypt in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, more than half the time at this point. Every so often, they sort of open the crypt door, and he walks in and goes into a camera, and then click, and then the door shuts, and you don't see him for a week. Joe Biden has not held a campaign rally since before Labor Day, even as the future of his agenda and his own political career are at stake in the midterm elections. By the way, watch for the media to turn on him in rabid fashion if the Democrats get clocked. The call for the magical Pete Buttigieg will just grow extraordinarily loud because they know it can't be Kamala. Kamala Harris, who just talks randomly about loving Venn diagrams and electric buses. It can't be her. And who else is out there? It's going to have to be Mayor Pete, who, again, his great claim to fame is being a terrible transportation secretary who's achieved literally nothing except for serious bottlenecks at every major port, plus an inability to solve a railway possible strike. But he is gay, so there's that. He is their best possibility at this point for 2024. If Joe Biden loses this election, the call for him to step down is going to be very loud from the media. With less than 3 weeks until Election Day, and polls suggesting Democratic enthusiasm is waning, Biden's strategy is clear. He will help Democrats raise money. He will continue to hopscotch the country talking about infrastructure, negotiated drug prices, student debt relief, and investments in computer chip manufacturing. But his decision not to participate in rallies that are normally a staple of campaign season highlights how little the president can do to help his fellow Democrats, even with the megaphone of the Oval Office. Or alternatively, he's really, really unpopular. According to the New York Times, it is a remarkably low-key campaign effort by a president facing what could be among the biggest rebukes of his political life. He keeps showing up to basically fundraisers behind closed doors, but apparently Biden is getting together with Fetterman, and they're going to do a closed-door reception for invited guests only, which makes sense. You put Joe Biden and John Fetterman on stage together, and the levels of incoherence are just going to be radical. They will be off the charts. No one is going to understand what the hell is going on. It would be... I'd be there for it because, frankly, it would be really, really fascinating to watch Joe Biden and John Fetterman do a joint rally to see who can get through more sentences consecutively. But they're not going to do that. They're going to go behind closed doors for this sort of stuff. Alrighty, guys, the rest of the show is continuing. Now you're not going to want to miss it. We'll be getting into a company pulling out of California after pointing out that San Francisco has descended into sheer chaos. Plus, California is making sure that they are now a trans kid tourism state. We'll get to that in just a second. If you're not a member, click the link in the description and join us.